What's Up Den podcast. And today you have your host and co-host, Jalen,
Chavez Briggs.
and our guest, Miss Rhonda, from the local coffee shop, She-Brews.
So, just to get everybody familiar with you and what you got going, can you tell us a little bit about you and your story?
hmm So it's long,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'll condense it though. So I grew up in drug addiction from the time I was 12 to my 30s. I was a drug addict, and it cost me everything. I had children who I raised in drug addiction, ruined their life, made a complete mess of everything I did because I would not let go of drugs. So I eventually was sentenced to prison, and in prison knew that I did not want prison to be my future. That prison is for people who cannot live by society's rules. And if I didn't want to live in the cage for the rest of my life, I had to obey the laws of the land. So I made that choice, and I chose to follow Jesus, and I chose to make new friends and get new things rolling in my life. So I get out of prison, and I want my children back.
Hmm.
And so I worked really hard doing everything I had to do to get my kids back. And then eventually I got my kids back. 4 years later, got married to a godly man. And one day he said to me, I feel like you have a dream inside you. And I responded, I don't really feel like I have a dream inside me. I feel like I'm living the dream.
Mm.
Right? All I wanted was to be in recovery and get my kids back.
Right.
And I had that. But he said, I want you to pray and ask God if there's a dream inside you. And in doing that, I felt in my heart I was being pretty selfish. My children got their mom back, but there's about 28,000 kids in Oklahoma who have an incarcerated parent. And I knew at that time I was supposed to become part of the solution and not just the problem. So I began as a volunteer going into the prisons, going back because I'd already lived there, and now I would go back as a volunteer. I would mentor them and be a friend to them. And then I would lead them out of prison. My husband and I bought a house, and we would lead them to this house, and we would teach them the principles of Jesus, the principles of belonging in a community and belonging in a church. And we would help their lives change. And we did this for a little bit in a country town called Claremore. But it was very hard to get the women employment because people were not wanting to give them a second chance. So I went back to my husband and I said, I have a second dream. And he said, you get one, your dreams are expensive. And I said, no, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a coffee shop. And people will come and they will drink coffee and they will meet these women and they will know them like I do. And they'll give them a chance. And that's where the She-Brews Coffee shop started.
Amazing.
Oh, the middle here. Oh, no, that's okay. Miss Rhonda should know, but she's a little bit. That's why God gets the glory, because it's not because of my brains.
So that right there, that's pretty interesting. I'm glad that we got a little depth into the foundation of your coffee shop and how you ended up starting it. So I'm glad that we got a bit of insight on that. So, do you feel you combine your Christianity into the atmosphere of your coffee shop quite well?
Yes, I do. We, in every coffee shop that we have three, and we have a prayer room.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have a prayer room. So anybody that comes in that we perceive might need prayer, or people just come to us now for prayer, we have a private place that we can go for prayer. Our music that we play in our coffee shop is Christian music. And all of our baristas love the opportunity to tell customers how Jesus has delivered them from drug addiction and how their life has been changed. And so we really spend a lot of our time glorifying God. God gets the glory. It's his idea, it's his mission, it's his vision. And these girls really do like to tell how their life has been changed.
Great, great. Okay, so when did this dream become reality?
So in 2012, I opened up the first coffee shop. And it was really hard because I didn't have any business experience. I had an 8th grade education because of drugs. And so I struggled in that way. And then my friends, my mentors convinced me to get my GED and go to college. So I was actually getting a social work degree and thinking about starting this business at the same time. So it was really tough. I didn't know things like how much insurance was required. I didn't understand payroll taxes. There was a lot of logistics I didn't understand. But what I found was how faithful God was, because I was actually praying in 2008. I kept the coffee shop open a year, and I was really praying on how to close it because I felt like this is too hard. I don't know how to do this. And in the prayer, 5 women came to me, and they said, "Don't close your doors. We've caught your vision. We've come to help you." So then they helped me get the paperwork and everything in order so that we could, we're a nonprofit, so that we could work as a nonprofit, that we could have a fundraiser, that we could raise money, and would help us get on the path that we needed to get everything in order, all the insurance, all the taxes, everything that was needed. You have to hire people that know how to do this. But these women knew the steps to take. So it was really amazing when they were able to come and help me.
Amazing. So, being that you started in 2012, over the course of all the way till now, with even facing challenges, how would you say, let's throw out one challenge like COVID-19, how would you say that affected it?
So COVID-19 was actually, did not hurt us as bad, because this is really crazy. But in 2020, I got a call that said, "Hey, there's a coffee shop at First and Lewis that are shutting their doors because of COVID, and they want to sell their business. Would you like to buy the business?" Well, number one, I don't have any money to buy a business. Number two, it's in the middle of COVID. I'm not sure it's a good time to buy a business. And number three, they probably don't even know who I am, so they probably would not consider selling to me. They had 2 big coffee companies that were trying to buy the location. And my friend said, "Can I put your name in anyway?" Sure. And then the people contacted me and said, "We're really interested in your mission. And if you can come up with the money, we would like for you to be able to buy this place out." I said, "Well, how much money do you need?" They wanted $80,000. I said, "Well, I have about $20,000 in the bank. I don't have a lot, but let me pray about this." And this is no lie. In 2 days, we received a check for $100,000 that said, "Go get this location."
Wow.
And that happened in June of 2020 during COVID. COVID was a difficult year to expand our business. But at the same time, things began to happen. After COVID, the farmers market decided that it would stay at First and Lewis, which gives us a huge customer base on the weekends. The community actually of Tulsa became very supportive at the coffee shop opening, and we were able to just kind of grow through it. It was, it was hard going through any epidemic like we had, because nobody quite understood it, and it was scary. But just trusting God for every step of the way, and God made it happen. And so now it is 2024, And, we've just been able to just continually grow.
Great. Phenomenal, actually.
So I know there's a few local coffee shops in Tulsa, in general around Oklahoma. So what sets your coffee shop apart?
Great question. Coffee is very competitive. So to be in the game for competitiveness, we had to learn how to roast our own beans. So we had a teacher named Vito come in. Vito's from Puerto Rico. And he came in to teach us how to roast coffee beans. And then in doing that, we started looking at plantations around the world that are mostly female ran, because we know in third world countries, women are huge providers of their family. And we felt like if we partnered with plantations that were female ran, then we weren't only helping children in Oklahoma, we were helping children in other countries. And so we started bringing in beans, which was totally new to us. We made a joke that we used to be dope dealers, but now we're hope dealers. Because you do bring drugs in from other areas, and now we were bringing beans in, and so we started roasting our own beans. Our beans are fresh roasted every week. They're fresh roasted, and we call it coffee with a cause, because you're not just buying coffee. You're assisting a woman that's come out of prison to get her life on track so that she can get her kids back. And we're the only coffee shop in Oklahoma that's doing coffee with a cause in that way. And so that helps us to stand out. We've had a couple of big wholesale customers, and then we've lost our big wholesale customers because our roasting was inconsistent. But we had a roaster that was from 1984, and it needed a whole lot of work, but we kept trying to make it work. But then just a few months ago, we were able to get a new roaster, and we believe now our coffee is going to be consistently great. And we're hoping to get those big wholesale accounts back. I don't do that work. The women that work in the coffee shop, they do this. They all have positions. They're managers, assistant managers, they're wholesale managers, they're wholesale workers, they're baristas. They work up through the organization to different positions. Different positions have different pay raises, pay things. And so they strive to be their best because they want to do more. And they feel like sometimes, since this coffee shop has helped them, they want to help the coffee shop, and so they want to go out and sell beans. And I just say it's a coffee shop, but it's really a ministry first, a coffee shop second. I let them have fun. They tell me what they want to do. I trust their ideas because I want them to dream. I want them to learn to dream again, because sometimes criminal behavior, drug addiction takes your dreams. I want them to learn it to dream again, and I let them give me ideas of what they want to do, and then I support their ideas. And that keeps us in the running of the competition. It's very competitive. It's crazy.
That's a really great cause, and I'm glad that you guys are empowering each other and other women.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Speaking of women, how many would you say that have successfully turned their life around through y'all?
Yes. So we've just finished working on this huge grant, so I've got the numbers fresh in my head. So we have served 370 women. And out of that percentage, 80% have graduated our program. And out of the 80% graduating in over a 15-year period, that's the housing started in 2007, but going into this 15-year period, 6.7% have returned to prison. So out of the people that have graduated the program, which is about 290 women have graduated the program, and out of that number, 6.7% have returned to prison. So that's been really fun. Now, out of that number that graduated, 80% of those had mentors. So we are looking at the value of mentors. When someone invests in a person's life, it completely produces change.
Absolutely.
There's power in that. So we have probably about 400 children that have been put back with their mothers.
Amazing. That's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Just with that, see what can happen with the help of God and a godly woman. So speaking of that, who would you say your mentor was?
Well, I had this young lady named Eileen. Eileen was about 36 years old. She had young children, and she gave her time to come into the prison to volunteer.
While you was in prison?
While I was in prison. And she and I met. We became friends. And she has been my mentor now for about 23 years. She continues today. We're more like best friends. But she's that person that I know that I have in my corner, that I can talk to her about anything. And she feels that way about me too, that she can talk to me about anything. And it was really through her. And then she introduced me to her friends. So my circle expanded of having people of wisdom and knowledge. And that investment completely changed my life. But because of that investment, I've been in the prisons now for 15 years as a volunteer and been able to help thousands of women in our Oklahoma prisons. Not all of them come with me. Of course, I don't have space for that. And people call me a really strict program, so not everybody wants to come with me. But I am in Prisons Weekly, helping women find any resource in the state of Oklahoma that they want that will help them in that transition. And it started with that investment of that mentor in my life.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone needs a type of role model and mentor in their lives.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right, Jalen. It matters.
Makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Especially knowing that somebody is, like you said, always in your corner, that's going to give you the harsh reality and truth and what you need to hear at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like truth.
Absolutely.
Tell me the truth. Even if it's painful, tell me the truth. But I also like mercy and grace, right? And I try to be that person. Sometimes I think that I should write it on my wrist so I look at it every day. Truth and mercy and grace. So that I speak truth always with mercy and grace. I think that's the way to impact people, not condemnation, but mercy and grace.
Good lesson for the viewers.
Definitely. Quote of the day. Quote of the day. So, what would you say the biggest, what's the word, like the hardest thing to do when starting a business and like making it become as successful as it is today?
I think whenever you're starting a business, it's really good to know your strengths and weaknesses, and then surround yourself with people who are strong where you are weak. I think that makes a huge difference. I think whenever I started the coffee shop, people ask me a lot, what would you have done differently? I would have got a team of people on board first, instead of trying to go a year trying to figure it out by myself. But I had to grow into realizing the value of team. I think when you live in a world you feel like you can't trust people, when you're struggling with drug addiction and you're struggling in crime, it's really hard to identify true friends. So you live your life a lot as not trusting anyone. That's kind of the motto. I don't trust anyone. No one's getting that close. And outliving that toxic thought to realize if you want to make it in life, business, or whatever, surround yourself with people who are strong where you are weak, and learn the value of teamwork.
Right.
That lesson can be really applied to many aspects of life, as far as friendship or even starting your own business. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it can be applied in many ways to many aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So good lesson, good lesson.
Okay, so speaking of, you know, your addiction to drugs and things of that nature, could you tell us a little bit about how it started and then how you overcame adversity and quit?
Mm-hmm. So it started when I was 12, and the way it started was um, I grew up in South Louisiana, and I was a happy kid. I did life. I loved my neighbors. I was the kid on the bicycle that took care of all the elderly people in the neighborhood, checking on them every day. I was just a good kid. And then one day my dad came home and decided that he didn't want his family anymore, and he walked out, and he just said goodbye, and it just broke our hearts. I have two sisters and my mom, and we were crushed, and my mom didn't know what to do, so she moved us to Texas the next day.
The
We
next
didn't
day.
we didn't even get to say goodbye to friends or anything. We just loaded up and moved, and then um, my mom didn't know what to do, so my mom got divorced from my dad really fast, and she remarried really fast. And the man that she married was a very violent alcoholic. And we moved to Dallas, and he said that, I had been a major red. I'd twirled, and I was a mascot for the football team, and I
Oh,
marched in on the
snap.
parades.
I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
you.
I was really doing some stuff, and I was a good kid. But I wasn't allowed to do that anymore. That was for sissies. I had to play soccer, which soccer's not a bad sport. I just wasn't, I'd never played soccer before, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. And my team was really good, and I was always real nervous at a game because I didn't want to really be put in the game. I didn't feel comfortable playing. I always felt like I'd let my team down by not being good. And we made it to the state champion playoffs, and I was just very sick. And my coach innocently said, "Take this little pill, it'll make you feel better." And this pill was a benzo, it was a Valium. I'd never had Valium before. It gave me like automatic courage. It gave me back my confidence. It gave me everything that I had lost when my dad walked away. I played the best game ever. I scored 3 scores that night. I was the most valuable player that night. And at that moment, I promised myself, I will never lose this feeling again. And it got me kicked out of school. It got me kicked out of my home. Everything went south, and I would not let go of my love for those pills. So then it led me into a lot of dark places and dark crime. And I always thought, tomorrow is the last day I'm going to use. But tomorrow never came until finally I was on my way to prison. And then I thought, this is the real thing. See, county jail, I could get out of county jail. It was bad, but I could get out of it. Prison, I was stuck. And the only way I was going to get out and stay out is I had to change. And I knew that my heart had to change. I needed something internal to change. And that's why I picked up the Bible. And I picked up the AA Blue Book, and it said, "Rarely have I seen a person fail that followed these steps thoroughly." And it was like an anchor of hope. With that in the Bible, if I follow the Bible, I'll do good. And if I work these steps, which I don't really know what these steps are, but if I do this, I'm not going to fail. And all I knew is I don't want to fail again. And so now I've just been on this journey for about 23 years. No place for failure. I can learn, I can make mistakes, and I can get up, but I'm not going back down.
Amen.
Amen. Really inspiring.
Absolutely.
So, I have another question. How important is the aura and atmosphere of your coffee shop to you, and how is it like conveyed to others on the outside, people who don't know, like what happens or the goings on in your coffee shop?
Mm-hmm. So every morning before the store opens, our crew prays together. If things get too crazy during the day, they pray together. Like I said, we keep the worship music going. We want to have an aura of peace. Peace is a very important value to me. And yes, sometimes you're going to have some chaotic moments. But even in those chaotic moments, we figure out if we can laugh through some of these moments, it's going to make the situation a little lighter. And but we want to be warm. We want to be open. We do have some of the homeless community that come in, and we give them coffee. And as long as they're okay, they can sit in and drink the coffee. We just don't allow like any kind of violent, upsetting behavior. We try to address that in a calm way. But I do think that we work really hard to keep the aura as just peaceful and light, fun, kind of a worshipy environment.
Okay, what y'all didn't see is before this, she offered to pray before we even started. Like, that's just mind blowing because a lot of people outside the walls and even inside the walls never just, can we pray? And I really appreciate you for coming on here, first of all. Second of all, like, having the courage to talk about some of the most lowest points in your life. Like, I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for saying yes to crossover. I know it's hard because life is hard, school is hard. But I know that if you can stick with it, on the other side is going to be something so good. And I shared a scripture earlier with Jalen, and this is one of my foundational scriptures. Don't grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap if you don't quit. And that's Galatians 6:9. And the many times that I've wanted to quit, sometimes it just means that there's a great blessing on the other side. Don't quit. And I use the word of God a whole lot in my life, that don't quit. Don't you grow weary in doing good, for in due season you're going to reap if you don't give up. And just holding on to that, holding on to God, because I've learned how faithful He is. How faithful. I don't know if you have time, but I'll tell you a quick story that we had.
Absolutely.
So we have this young mom that's recently come to live with us in our program. And she had 3 children, and she did not do drugs. Okay, she was poor, but she didn't do drugs. And so one night, her youngest baby died of a thing called SIDS. The baby quit breathing in the night, and it passed away. And she could not handle the grief of losing her child. And so the baby's daddy came by and said to her, smoke this fentanyl, it'll make you feel better. And she did. And she said she went numb from head to toe and knew that that's what she had to have to get her through the loss of her child. So for a whole year, all she did every day, she just quit living. Her mom took her children, the two that were living, and every day just fentanyl, fentanyl, fentanyl. Well, the district attorney in Comanche County, Lawton, Oklahoma, ended up arresting her. And he said, we're going to charge you with neglect. And you're probably going to go to prison for 3 to 10 years. And she said to me, I promise I'm innocent. I did not do drugs prior to my baby dying. And when she got arrested for this charge, she found out that she was pregnant with another baby. And so she came up here to live so that she could get off the drugs and make the changes in her life. And she honestly has been doing the best. She's been going to college. She's been doing really good. And so she was supposed to have a jury trial in June. And we were very scared of what the outcome of this jury trial would be. But I just told her, we're going to trust God. We're just going to trust God. And they ended up moving the jury trial up to April the 15th. And so we went to Lawton for the jury trial. 2 days of jury, and the jury came back not guilty. 5 of the 12 jurors sought her out to hug her and tell her that they were so sorry she had to walk through that again. I kept telling her, I cannot begin to guess the mind of God. But what I've seen him do before is you can't move forward until you get the baggage out of the way. So it seemed like April 15th was to get the baggage out of the way. She was not convicted. She's not guilty. Her baby died, but it wasn't her fault. She's not guilty. And now she's going to move into her own home, and we're about to get the other 2 children restored to her. And that is the faithfulness of God. He knew, and he was faithful. And it's that kind of faithfulness that I see him do that I know he's so faithful. You can't out-faithful him. You be faithful to him, he'll be faithful to you 100 times over. And it doesn't always look like it, but if you hold on, change is coming. Because when you got the Lord on your side, you got your back covered. In fact, he says in Psalms 139, I've got you hemmed in. He not only got your back, he got your side and your front. We're covered.
We're covered.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone. So once again, I'm Tyvez.
I'm Jalen.
And our wonderful special guest,
Rhonda Bear.
Rhonda Bear. Could you tell them a little bit like where they can find you if they want to, get tuned into your ministry?
Yes, thank you for that. Our Tulsa location is at 1 North Lewis, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're kind of cornered of the historical Circle Cinema. We're right in the Kendall Whittier district, but 1 North Lewis. And then we have 2 locations in Claremore. One of our locations is 414 West Will Rogers Boulevard, and we're in the middle of all the antique stores. We do have good coffee, and we have amazing testimonies.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll get back to y'all on our next episode of the Den Podcast.
Indeed.
Play my theme music.